Hey everyone, I am back with a process video using the brand new Katherine kit from Felicity Jane. This is the kit for the month of June, and I will be doing a page for my 2020 album that I'm keeping in my Felicity Jane Note to Self binder. So yeah, my thing for this project was that I needed to use up my favorite piece, my favorite product from the kit, and I have so many favorites that I think I kind of used all of them here, but my ultimate favorite thing from this month's kit are the vellum frames. I love anything that are frames, anything that look like Polaroids, and so those are my favorite product, and that is what I'll be using in this project here. And so the vellum frames will be the main thing, but I also picked out my favorite papers, which you'll see me here cutting. And I have the puffy stickers and the puffy alphas, which are also two of my favorites, sitting off to the side, but I don't really use them very much. But I am using like almost all of my favorite patterns from this month's kit. Anyway, so what I'm doing here is I am going to create a pocket to house all of the little Polaroid photographs that I am going to create. And I'm only doing this because this year I really wanted to keep a 12 by 12 album, a 12 by 12 like kind of pocket page slash layout album. But since we've been in quarantine for like 3 months, there's not much to document, you know? And so I decided to move all of those memories that I wanted to keep in that larger format into a smaller format. Since I was already doing projects in my Felicity Jane binder for Felicity Jane, I decided just to, you know what, it would make sense just to combine everything and just put like it's sort of a project life scrap therapy hybrid sort of album, just in the smaller format. So I went back to the 6x8. I love 6x8. It's what I used to document in before. So I just kind of went back to it. But I had all these photographs of my scrap room redo that I was going to do in a 12 by 12 pocket page. And so they were all printed out, I think like 3 by 3 inches, and I really wanted to do a pocket page for it. In a 12 by 12, but since I'm moving everything to the smaller format, I had all these photographs and I needed to figure out a way in which I can use up all of them, but in a smaller, in like a smaller way. And so when I saw these vellum frames, I was just like, yes, I'm making a bunch of Polaroids, like faux Polaroids with my photographs, and they were sized perfectly for the frames. And so what I ended up doing was I created a pocket, which you've already seen me create, and it's just a tiered pocket. I had a base paper, and then I just cut diagonal slits off of the other pages that are about the same size, and layered them together and then ran them through my sewing machine so that it all creates a nice pocket. So I think I end up with 3 pockets, 3 tiered pockets, and that is where I'm putting the Polaroids. So it was really simple to create that pocket. I just cut down all the papers to be 6x8, chose my base paper, which was the star paper, and then layered up all the other papers, making sure to cut off a diagonal strip on the top so that it makes that cool little crisscrossy type pattern. And then I just took it to my sewing machine and sewed everything up so it can stay attached and create the pocket. So for the Polaroids, I am using the frames as is. What I noticed when I was layering up the frames on top of my photos is that since they're vellum, the photo peeks through. And so what I ended up doing was I ended up taking some white cardstock and I am gluing the vellum frames onto the white cardstock and then cutting out the little center part of it so that I can put my photograph on the back of it, so it looks like a Polaroid, like a frame. So it keeps the frame thing intact, but when I put it on top of my photo, you won't see the photo peeking through the vellum because it's backed with white cardstock. And so that was a process of doing all of that for all of the photographs that I had. And so that's basically what I do. Like what I spend a lot of time on is just gluing the frames down onto cardstock, cutting out the center, and then putting them over my photographs and gluing the photographs to the frames. So once I have all of my frames finished, I have to figure out what I'm going to do for the back. So I decided to take 2 of the Polaroids and back them with grid paper. I just used paper, the paper inserts from Felicity Jane that are grid, and I just glued them down to the grid paper and then cut them out so that the back had a grid on it. And I did it that way because I wanted to utilize it for journaling. For the other Polaroids, I ended up backing them with some cardstock. So I ended up, the 2 that don't have grid paper, they have the star paper as the back. And so that's what I end up doing in terms of backing the Polaroids, to have pattern paper and to have grid paper to use for journaling. So once I decide how to back them, I am using the tabs, the paper tabs from the Grace kit to add tabs to the Polaroids. And I only did this because I was trying to figure out a way in which to embellish the Polaroids, but not like take away from the beautiful patterns of that vellum frame. And so I decided to use the tabs because I had a bunch of them left, and I thought it would be good to put tabs on them so that I can easily pull them out from the pockets. So how I did the pockets, the top 2 pockets are really, really deep. So if my Polaroid falls down into there, I like the idea of having a little tab that I can pull it up. That, and I also wanted just to label the Polaroids, and it's just a nice, fun embellishment. It adds another texture to the page. And so you'll see here that I'm continuing to back my photos with either grid paper or the pattern paper, and then I place the tab on just the top there. So once the 3 Polaroids have tabs on it, the one that I clipped, the Polaroid that I clipped to the bottom pocket, I wanted to embellish that too with something, but I didn't want that to have a tab because it wasn't going to sit into a pocket. And so I pulled out the ephemera pack from the Katherine kit, and I pulled out 2 pieces. I pulled out a tiny little label and a word phrase that says a little life update, I think. And I really wanted to use these sticker labels that are a new add-on in the shop, but the labels were a little too big, and so I ended up using a tiny little label from the ephemera, and I just layered that phrase on top of it, and I just glued it down onto the Polaroid. So once I had that there, I ended up taking all of the Polaroids to my sewing machine and I added a bit of mint stitching on all of them. And so for the ones with the tabs, I added the mint stitching where the tab meets the Polaroid. And I love that. I did like 2 different stitches and it just gives it a nice handmade kind of cottagey type feel to it. And I did it mint to have like some sort of contrast because 2 of my photos have that deep mint in it. And then the one that's clipped to the pocket, I added the mint stitching over the ephemera pieces that I added to the bottom of the Polaroid there. Again, just to give it a little bit of texture and to kind of repeat that mint color. So now I am trying to figure out what my title is going to be. I really wanted to use the alphas, those colorful alphas from the Katherine kit, and I do end up using those to spell out redo. And so I'm using the little, the typewriter type alphas. I believe they're from the Lola kit. I'm using those to write out scrap room. And so basically I did a scrap room revamp, and that's what this page is about. That's what the photos are of me reorganizing my scrap space. And so I decided to have a title that says Scrap Room Redo because that's what I did here. I kind of reorganized everything. And so I used the colorful alphas and I made sure to use a different color for each letter of redo because I just like that fun. It's a very fun rainbowy type thing, and you can do that with these alphas, but you can also spell out redo with like just the mint alphas. But I kind of wanted to add all of those colors since I wanted to bring out the colors of the paper, the star paper that had all those colors in it too. And so that's what I did, and of course I'm just fussing with my placement as always because I can never get anything straight when it comes to alphas. And yeah, it just says Scrap Room Redo, and I believe once I have all of that positioned, my layout is done. Oh, I add in one of the puffy heart stickers from the puffy stickers. And yeah, I think the page is pretty much done. I end up taking my Polaroids out of the pocket so that I can punch the holes into my paper to put it into my planner. And once I do that, I kind of reposition everything back. Since I had to punch in holes to fit into my planner, the Polaroid that I had clipped to the side there no longer fit right because of course I had to punch the holes and put it into the planner. So what I ended up doing is clipping it to that bottom pocket. So it's still clipped to the page, it's just clipped on the other side to the bottom pocket. So once everything's in my planner, I end up pulling out the 2 Polaroids that have the grid paper on the back of them to do my journaling. I absolutely love tucking things into pockets. Like, that's just my jam when it comes to my journals and stuff, because I don't really like my handwriting, and so I can easily journal on the back of things and tuck them back into the pockets and you can never see my journaling. And you see here that I actually journaled quite a bit on both of those photos there. But yeah, that is just my page here. It's a very simple page in my note to self binder, and I really loved how it turned out. I love how interactive everything is, that I can just pull things up out of the pockets to see them. So I'm going to leave you here with some photographs of my project. I really hope you all enjoyed this process video. Definitely check out the Felicity Jane shop and the corresponding blog post if you want to see like everything written out and all the pictures and stuff, and I will make sure to leave the links all in the description box below. Be advised that I am on the creative team, so those links are affiliate links. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!